Greetings and salutations, folks. My name is James Belmuda, and in this short tutorial video, I'm going to walk you through how you can commit files into Git and how you can push those commits from your local Git repository onto GitHub, which houses your remote repository. To begin, we're going to go up into the top right-hand side of RStudio, and you'll notice that by default it starts in the Environment tab. In order to access version control, we must go over to where the Git tab is, click it. Under the Git tab, we can see the status of our local Git repository. We're going to begin by looking at the columns on the right-hand side and then progressing to the left. In particular, on the right-hand side, you'll see the path or the file names that are currently under consideration for some level of modification or inclusion into the Git repository. In the middle column, the status column, you'll see the underlying state of the file. When you see question marks, that typically means that the file is untracked or it has yet to actually be committed into the repository. To commit a file into the repository, we must go to the far left column and we must first stage the file. To stage a file, click inside the checkbox for the given file. Notice that as we clicked inside the checkbox, we had the question marks disappear, and instead we have an A, which indicates that the file was added. If we repeat this same process by again clicking inside the checkbox for .gitignore and .rbuildignore, we've effectively added all untracked files. After staging the files, we need to permanently save them into the repository by creating a commit. To do so, go up to the commit button, press it to launch into the commit viewer. On the commit viewer, notice that in the top left-hand side, we have the file statuses just as before. In addition, we can see inside the file and view what exactly is changed on the lower portion of the commit viewer. If we go up to the top right-hand side of the commit viewer, notice that we have a commit message. If we try and commit with this message being blank by pressing the commit button, notice how it tells us that the commit did not go through. Therefore, we need to always make sure we're adding a short but descriptive status of how the repository changed. Here, we're adding the RStudio project files. So our commit message should reflect that. If we go ahead and press commit, notice how we now effectively have saved copies of these files into our repository. Closing out of this, you'll notice that right underneath the changes section of the commit viewer, we are now being told that our branch is ahead of origin master by one commit. What this means is the GitHub version of our repository has yet to be updated. Therefore, we need to go to where we see the push button, which is a green upward arrow in the top right of the commit viewer, and click it. When we click it, we're going to be prompted to enter our username and password for our GitHub account. Doing so will allow us to sync the local Git repository with our remote Git repository. Notice after we've done so, we no longer have the your branch is one commit ahead of origin master that was being displayed before. Furthermore, if we go over to where our Git repository is, we observe it, notice that this was the initial state of the repository as it was given to you. If we refresh it, we now have the status of, or we now have the files that we added from the initial commit.